Good morning, garden friends. Today we are speaking with Anthony and Sherman. I had the opportunity to visit them earlier this year during the Keep Smyrna Beautiful garden tour, and their home was one of the choices. And I just wanted to be able to talk with them, get some insight on their inspiration, how they got started, and then do a walkthrough of their beautiful garden. Good morning, garden friends. And like I stated, today I am having a conversation with Anthony and Sherman in regards to their beautiful garden and provide some insights to you guys, you know, their journey and their gardening style. So let me ask you guys, how long has this been in the making?
So we've been here going on 8 years now, this past July. And when we bought this house, the outside of the house was a clean slate because whoever had it before, they clear cut all the shrubbery and cut all the trees down in the front yard, and the backyard was just a bunch of woods. Except that was the reason why I bought the house, was because I liked the idea that it was a secluded backyard, which was really nice. But I immediately started in the front yard, you know, in my head, thinking of what I wanted to do. So we started with the foundation plantings first.
Nice.
And then after that, we put the island in the middle of the lawn because I really don't like grass and I really don't like mowing. So anything I could do to reduce that was a good plus. Yeah. Kind of made this shape, you know, and then we planted the 2 trees on either side. And then after that, it was just like me just thinking what I wanted to put in there. So even now I'm constantly adding new things to it. I mean, some things don't make it, some things die. I mean, it's, you know, so it's a constantly work in progress.
Yeah, and you know, with gardening, that's how it is. It's ever changing. You know, you can think that what you put in is going to be successful, and it doesn't. Right. And then the thing of it is, pull it out and keep it moving. You know, don't allow that to be a discouragement for you.
No, for sure.
Now, when you guys came up with your design of your yard, what was the inspiration for how you have it laid out?
I kind of just go by what I like, and I really wanted something that was low maintenance, look good from a distance, and especially like the foundation plantings, I went with the layered look. So I don't know, that's kind of like how I don't really have like a style per se. I mean, if I see something I like, I get it, you know? Yeah. So sometimes, especially in the backyard, I have a lot of single stuff, almost like a botanical garden in a way, just because I'm trying stuff out to see how it looks and stuff. And then also being in the industry, I mean, I get a lot of freebies from the jobs that I do, especially when I'm changing out containers and stuff. If stuff will make it through our winter, I'll keep it because sometimes I hate to just throw it away. Yeah. So that helps too. And then also nursery, and they'll give me free things, or they'll say, hey, try this plant out in your yard and see how it does and let us know, you know. And so there's a lot of pluses on that, you know. Right.
Okay, so wait a minute. You're talking about, you know, as far as in the industry, is this what you do for a living?
Yeah, so I have a degree in ornamental horticulture. Mostly been with this for a long time. We moved up to Atlanta in the early 2000s, and I got into the industry again, but working in a different aspect. Before I was doing more landscaping, and then I went with a couple of landscape companies where I was more specialized, and I started working with the gardens and containers and perennials, which really interest me, and I've kind of stuck with that little niche since.
Okay. Just, you know, through the seasons, you got, you know, the different plants that are prolific during that time frame. Now, how often are you like changing out, you know, your landscape, or is it you plant stuff with the thought process of when one thing dies off, something else is automatically coming up, or are you changing plants out?
So I always try to, especially in the backyard and in the front island, to always have something that's blooming at some time. So when I'm picking out a plant, I do kind of tend to go for all 4 seasons.
Gotcha. All right, so I know in our household, you know, we also are from up north, you know, and like I had told you, moving down here and getting acclimated to this Georgia clay
Yes.
was a task.
Mm-hmm.
But our friends up north used to call my husband and I Chip and Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
I am the designer. He is the executor.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a partnership, or is there somebody that comes up with the ideas and one executes it, or is this a collaboration?
I think it's kind of a collaboration in a way. I mean, I do come up with a bit of the idea, especially plant-wise, but he's an excellent builder, and he also comes up with the ideas. I mean, he came up with the idea of this deck here, because originally we were going to do a deck off of the kitchen, which, you know, our house, the way it's situated, is the back is like a two-story house in a way, where the front is just one level.
Right.
So that was going to be a lot involved. I mean, it sounded good when we first thought about it, taking out the windows, putting some French doors, but there's air conditioned ducts underneath. So we kind of nixed that idea, and then Sherman came up with this because it was the only area that was kind of flat.
Right.
So he built this. So he's really good about executing stuff. You'll see as we're walking through the garden, there's different things that is his style and look and stuff. And he'll ask me, he'll tell me, say, you know, what do you think about this, or where did this go and stuff, you know, and that's how that happens. I mean, all the stepping stones was his idea, but it was his idea how the stepping stones are going to be made. It's all reclaimed wood from his workplace, and so it's unique because not too many other places have it, and plus it didn't cost us anything except for his labor.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was nice.
Yeah, and you know, and that's the thing when you do have that partnership, you know, because my husband is the builder, you know, and like I said, I'm the visionary. Now I do get my hands dirty, you know, I help him out, you know, because it helps me learn, you know, how to do those things. When you guys think of things that, and I know you said what is appealing to you is what dictates, you know, what you choose.
Right.
Is there something about it? You know, is it because, you know, of its blooming season? Is it the color? Is it things that have fragrance to it? What are those things that draw you to saying, hey, you know, I like this, and this is the reason why?
Well, I mean, color is a big thing for me. So if it has a pretty color, fragrance is okay. I mean, a lot of the fragrance on plants to me is a little too perfumey, a little too much.
Yeah.
So I would like something that's a little, you know, less fragrant on that. But I mean, I read a lot. I mean, I have a lot of garden magazines I get on a monthly basis, so I'm constantly seeing all the new stuff. So of course I always want to try some of the new stuff out, you know, just the way a plant looks. I mean, I like stuff that's a little more free flowing. I definitely like variegated plants.
Yeah.
Though, you know, the balance between regular staple evergreens, you know, that, you know, will be there through the winter, and then deciduous plants that maybe have some variegation and some pretty fragrance and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and then there's always just a couple plants I just love. I mean, you know, I love echinaceas.
Do you know, with the plants that can be reseeded, do you harvest the seeds, or you just let them naturally drop to the ground and do what they need to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't harvest anything. I don't. When we went to South Carolina the other day, we did see a really cool redbud tree that was different than I've seen before, and we did take a couple of the seeds. But plants are extremely expensive in the catalogs, and you get a tiny little itty bitty plant. I mean, so you gotta be mindful of that. But I also say that, you know, you can have 3 neighbors in a row and everybody can have the same plant, and it will only do well in one place.
Right.
I mean, it's just because, to me, it's like a plant will either like it or not like it. And it don't matter how much amending or how much sun or not sun. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's just like, if it likes it, and you should just be happy.
Right.
You know.
What would be some suggestions that you would offer, you know, somebody who may just want to start getting started with gardening?
There's lots of classes. There's lots of seminars. And especially nowadays, I mean, a lot of them you don't even have to go to in person. You can just get it sent to your computer, and you can watch the video afterwards. I mean, get information that you can use for your area. And working for other companies, the style has changed. I mean, now, especially with the ground, it's not. And now they're saying not to till the ground, which was what was always taught to us. till and then till and then. But now we're finding out that it's not good to do that.
Right.
And so I've tried that, not doing that, which, you know, a lot less labor intensive,
yes.
you know, for sure. And I don't see any difference.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, plants are still doing well and stuff. So, I mean, so I try to, you know, change with some of the ways when I can, you know.
Right. So, based off of what you're talking about, is that sheet mulching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's like one of the things, you know, with my channel, help educate individuals what used to be the norm, whether it's technology, whether it's new techniques that people have come up with that makes gardening a lot easier.
Right.
It keeps people from being fearful, you know, of taking it on.
You need to be a little more chill, you know, when
Right.
you're gardening and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
And he was it. Someone had once told me gardening teaches you patience. You know, I am not that instant gratification person where you gotta buy the big huge plant. So when you plant it, it's like boom.
Right.
I do. I like to get them when they're small and see my skills make it grow. I know I'm a regular visitor of the clearance section for plants.
Right.
And that in itself is about patience, you know, because it's like, oh my God, this thing is ugly.
Yeah.
Is it going to survive? And then when you see it bounce back,
Right.
you know, that in itself is like so gratifying,
I know.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but I am like really excited for us to be able to walk around and showcase you guys' garden. So I'd like to use this opportunity to do that.
Sure.
So let's take a walk in your garden and see what you got going on here.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so this is the island that we put in pretty much in the beginning when we first moved in here. We planted 2 trident maples first, and they've done really, really nice. The only disappointing thing was that the reason why I picked a trident maple is it's a short maple, so it doesn't get humongous, and I didn't really want it to block the house. And because it's supposed to have fabulous fall color. Unfortunately, these 2 guys never have fabulous fall color. Ever since we've been in here, I'm like, this is going to be the year. And no, it just goes from green to brown and falls down on the ground. And I don't know why, but that's the beauty of plants.
Yes.
But, you know, I wasn't going to just rip them out and, you know, put new trees in. So, you know, I'm stuck with them. But they're nice. They have a nice shape, and they do their thing. They anchor either side of the bed, and now they're giving some shade. So I used to have a lot more sun plants in the corners, and now I have to start switching a little more to shade because of the sun stuff, especially the shrub roses are getting a little shaded out, and they're not as full and lush as they used to be.
Okay.
So the bed is basically a mix of some shrubs, because you want to have some shrubs, especially evergreen shrubs, that's anchor the bed. So, and in the winter time, and a lot of perennials and bulbs, and then I pop in a couple of annuals just to have that extra color. So in the springtime, I have some crocuses and daffodils that come up, and I have a couple of pinnies, which they don't look really great right now, but these are the most gorgeous pinnies. They have a salmon color when they bloom, and they're really, really early, especially this year. I have a couple of fothigilas on either side. So fothigilas have a white flower in the springtime before the leaves come out, so that gives a little pop of color. I have 2 different varieties of spireas, and I have them strategically placed in the corners, but alternating the 2 varieties. So one variety's on this side and one variety's on that side. One's a spring bloomer and one's a summer bloomer. So that, again, I always have something kind of blooming in here.
Nice.
And as I'm planting, I'm doing things in groups of 3s, 5s, and 7s. So I try to keep that in when I'm doing mass plantings and stuff. I also have a bit of single plants just to have a little pop, like a little surprise or whatever. I bought this special crepe myrtle because I wanted to get the one that had the purple leaves and the purple flowers. Another little bit of a disappointing plant because it's extremely slow growing and it doesn't flower very much.
Oh, wow.
So it's not as showy as some of the green leaf purple flowering ones that you see as you're driving around. I don't have the heart to rip it out, even though every year Sherman and I discussed about taking it out and putting in maybe a snowball viburnum or something a little more showier. And I'm like, well, this is the year I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, no, I can't do it.
But you know,
So-
the one good thing with gardening is the color contrast. That burgundy with your light green and then the yellow from the black-eyed Susies,
Yeah.
that just flows very nicely.
I know. Which is the reason why I wanted the purple, because I also have the purple loropetalums. And behind it, I had a Annabelle hydrangea. White flowers against the purple leaves was really,
Yes.
it was just a great combo. The Annabelle is usually pretty hardy. It completely died.
Oh, wow.
So I switched to a tardiva, which basically has just sat there since I planted it. It hasn't done anything.
What is that? Right there,
This
yeah.
one? So this is a perennial. This is a Euphorbia shorty.
Oh, okay.
What's cool about this plant, and I actually use it more in containers in the winter for my winter containers because of it being evergreen. But in the early spring, it gets these funky chartreuse flowers that look like something alien-like. They're like these little circles on the stem that go like horizontal and stuff. It's really, really cool.
Oh, wow.
And what's nice too is that if you let the flowers just fade, they get tons of seeds, and you'll have babies for years all over the garden here and there, which is nice, and then you don't have to buy new plants.
Yeah.
But these basically will last a couple of years, and then they'll basically just slow out and die. I got one dahlia that came back from last year, which I was surprised, because you know dahlias, you're supposed to dig up the plant, the bulb, store them and stuff. Too much work.
Yeah, yeah.
I have some cannas that I did the same thing 2 years worth, but this year not so much. I think the freeze from the winter did something to it, and it didn't come back as strong. So it's weird because the dahlia, which is a little more sensitive, came back, but the canna did not.
Yeah, wow.
So, and I have some foxgloves that I put in last year, but they haven't flowered yet. So hopefully they're one that will flower in late winter, sometimes early spring, especially around here. They flower a lot earlier than up north. I got some milkweed. I got two different varieties of milkweed. I got the one with the orange flowers, which are the ones that have these seed pods on right now.
Okay.
And then these I got down in South Carolina at a nursery, and they're supposed to have pink flowers. So I'm super excited to see what they do.
Okay.
But they're hardy for our area, so they'll come back each year. Oh, this is an interesting plant. This is a blackberry lily.
Ooh.
So it has a really pretty orangey peach flower, and then it gets these seed pods. And from these seed pods, they're going to open up and they look like blackberries.
Oh my goodness.
So if you have this plant, you just leave it and let it do its thing.
Nice.
And then if you leave the seeds after it dries up, you'll get some babies here and there too. So at the garden tour, this was the second most asked plant.
Yes.
This is a cryptomeria. This is a dwarf cryptomeria. I think it might be black dragon, but I'm not 100% sure. And it just slowly grows, and I hardly ever have to do anything to it. Occasionally, I might have to snip one or two, but it basically just forms this ball all on its own.
Nice.
And I have two of them, one on either corner, to catty corner the thing. I got some blue asters that'll be blooming next month. So you know, with anything that blooms in the fall, if you cut the plants by half before 4th of July, they'll be a lot shorter and a lot easier to maintain. So you can do that with any of the perennials that you know will bloom late in the season.
Okay.
So that's, you know, a good little tip that you get when you're working in the field and stuff.
Okay.
I got creeping phlox. This is the light blue phlox. It's not that really bright in your face one. It's done really well here. I only had a couple of plants when I originally put it in, and it has spread aggressively into the beds, out into the grass. I have to keep cutting it back. But it does really, really well, and it's pretty when it blooms. It's a whole carpet of flowers when it blooms in the springtime. One of the first things that blooms in the springtime with the daffodils, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So this is another type of drift rose. These two guys I actually got free. They're a little more aggressive than my other drift roses, but they're pink and they're real bright. They get really wide, but if they get too big, I just whack them back and they just come right back.
Okay.
And what you should do with roses in the month of August is you cut them back by 1/3 to 1/2, and that will rejuvenate them and make them look really spectacular for the fall. Don't do them quite as hard as you do in the wintertime when you really cut them back.
Right.
But that's something that some people don't do, and they're afraid to do it because sometimes they have flowers on it, but they'll make it look a lot better for September and October.
Yeah. I usually, my roses 3-4 times in the season, I will cut them back just to keep that nice full look to them.
Yeah. Because if not, they get kind of lanky,
Yep.
and then the leaves look kind of, stuff on and stuff. I have a couple of lilies that are finished blooming. I had a really couple of cool ones. I got the Casablanca, which everybody has with the white flowers.
Yeah.
But I have this one spectacular one that I bought myself. These right over here, but all you see is just the seed heads. It's called like Crazy for Susan or something Susan. It's got this three colors in it. It's got an orange with black lines and stuff. It's like so like in your face and so spectacular.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and it's the only one that blooms at that time. So I have a little cluster of it and it's just like, oh, pop.
Nice.
So I guess that's it about with the island.
Okay.
And I try as often as I can to not use too much pesticides.
Yeah.
Organic fertilizers I try to use. So I'm trying to be, a stewardship for the environment for that.
Perfect.
So like I said, when we first moved into the house, it was a clean slate. This overhang thing wasn't here. We added that on after the fact and then put in a new sidewalk and stuff. So we started with just the foundation plantings. Sherman went and built the stack wall for us. When
I
we bought
love
that and
those.
did that, just have something a little different. And like I said, even though I didn't want to have boxwoods, it's nice to have a couple of boxwood balls because they're green year-round, most of the time pretty easy to take care of. This variety is called Green Velvet, so it's a little bit less susceptible to boxwood blight. So I started actually with the 4 boxwoods. There's 2 on both sides. And then I added the Japanese maple because it's a weeper and I really just love it.
Yes, gorgeous.
So I wanted to have a little pop of color, some perennials that were pretty easy to grow. And so the lamb's ear are really super durable. It's actually a little bit more aggressive in some spots than others. And so I started out with it just in this one little spot. And over the years, it has just expanded itself. You used to be able to see the boulders and the Buddha a little bit better, but now it's basically really smushed in. But it's easy to take out.
And this is the Helen Vaughnstein
correct.
Version.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah.
I just like it for the fuzziness of the leaves and everything.
Yeah. I love your Japanese maple. Oh, I so love that.
Yeah, so that's pretty, got a really pretty color in the fall. The black eye Susans are super adorable.
Yep.
Again, I just planted 3 plants where those 3 rings are. Through, and this is what they've done. At first I was going to keep them right there, and then they started expanding here, and I'm like, well, it's kind of nice to have something underneath the Japanese maple,
Yep.
And then of course my coneflowers, which I just love.
Yeah.
And coneflowers are normally kind of hard to keep coming back every year, but for some reason they really like this spot, and majority of them come back every year.
Nice.
So on this side, I didn't want it to copy the other side. I wanted it different, except for the boxwoods being the same. Everything else is not the same. I wanted a little bit of 2 different types of texture. So this is an evergreen yew, a taxus. And then I have the abelia behind it, which flowers all summer.
Oh, nice.
And so I know now they have a little more varieties that have variegation. This is just the regular standard yellowish looking one though, but they have some really cool varieties now where the leaves are like the show.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of cool. Camellia, because I love camellia,
Yeah.
especially sasanquas. So sasanquas bloom in the fall, and these are the really bright pink ones.
Oh,
and
nice.
the whole row of these are all the same.
Oh,
So when
wow.
they're all at the same time, they're just like these balls of pink, which is really,
Nice.
really cool. So this is our latest addition that we did. Sherman made this.
Wow.
So, originally, this was grass, but the grass never did well. It was mostly moss and mud, and it was a pain to mow because it slopes down. So I've always said that I wanted to do something with it. So what we did first was that we put in the gravel and then we put in the stepping stones. And then it was like, wow, this is really big.
Yeah.
So I just said it needs something to soften it. And I saw in a magazine that I liked the feel of it.
Yeah.
And I cut it out and I showed it to Sherman. And I said, what do you think about doing this for over here? Well, in the meantime, he had this at work that he was doing. And he was thinking about doing this, installing this in the backyard.
Right.
And I just said, well, why not put this in the front and let's not do the tall post. Let's just do this instead.
Right.
So he came up with this. This was recently just finished, just within the last month.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah.
is so nice. Projects always going on when you're a gardener. And these are Nico's, right?
So these are endless summers, actually.
Oh.
So endless summers, which is nice. If you want to actually get a hydrangea, endless summers are the best ones for Georgia because they bloom on new and old wood. So you know how our winter decimated hydrangeas? I don't think you saw anybody that had a mop head that was blooming. Look at them now; they're blooming because endless summers will bloom a second time, and so this is all new growth. Because they basically looked like they were dead on death's door.
Yeah, they did.
And I just said, well, let's just wait and see. And they slowly started coming back, and now they're getting ready to flower.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of containers here and there in the backyard. So we have this one that's got some variegated ginger and some impatiens. And this Calibrachoa was my favorite this year.
Oh, that's pretty. Oh, wow.
Bumblebee, I remember it was called. But just spectacular. So... and so the fountain that we had in the front, we moved to the back, and then we added a couple of lilies to it. So didn't want to throw it away, you know, just recycle it someplace else. So I have a couple of tropical trees. I have an orange tree and a lemon tree that we leave out. And when it's really cold in the wintertime, they're on wheels. I just roll them into the basement.
Okay.
But I've been trying to leave them out a little more often to get them a little more acclimated to our winters.
Gotcha.
So we actually have a couple of oranges this year.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it fruity?
Not a lot, but there's more than we had last year. Last year we only had one. And this year I think we have maybe 5.
Oh, yeah.
The lemon, not so much. Not a single lemon this year.
Okay.
So last year we had 1, but this year no. So this is the backyard. Like I said, when we bought this house, it was just trees and understory trees. And so I just put a blinder on it, and I just said, I don't want to do anything with it. Sherman was the one that kept insisting that we should do something with it. So I'm like, all right, you know, because we have no irrigation on the property.
Yeah.
Everything has to be hand watered, which, as you know, is annoying in the summertime.
Yeah.
And this used to have like different tiers at one time. I didn't really have to do anything with the soil. Even though it is clay, we have so many leaves on the property. Even in the fall from the front, I just blow everything into the back and just let it naturally decompose.
Yes.
So eventually, it's going to be something better than what it was in the beginning.
Right.
So I know that I wanted to do a path, and it was going to be kind of hard to do the circle that I wanted because of the elevation grade. So Sherman actually was the one that came up with this one thing that we'll show you next.
Okay.
Because everything I tried to get down to there, and I slip and fall because of the leaves and all that. So I got this leftover timber from work, so I just decided just to make a step, be easier for me to go up and down the hill.
Right.
And so, and Anthony wants to walk around our small garden, so I make the bridges and the platforms that's more like in a national park.
Nice. Nice. Oh, yeah.
Because this part is more of a drain area.
So we have like a dry creek behind our property that butts both the properties.
Okay.
So we didn't want to impede any of that when it rains. We wanted the water to still be able to flow down there and stuff.
Nice. Oh, wow.
And so if you're going to make it all the way down, it's too steep and you might slip and fall, so I had to make in steps.
In layers, yep.
In
Okay.
layers so they can step down safely.
Yeah. This is just so cozy.
And really the whole time I was thinking about the path, I was thinking that if we were ever on a garden tour, as you know, being on a garden tour, they always like people to go in one direction.
Right.
So I wanted something that would be as a circle so people can go around and then observe as they were, walking around.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted this section here just to be azaleas, but I haven't been that successful yet. I've had a lot that keep dying on me. But eventually it's going to be just a big spot of 2 different varieties of azaleas blooming in the springtime.
Oh, nice.
Just nice and simple.
Yep.
So that's my goal for that.
Oh, this is really nice. And then the setting that this is in is just so nice.
And just being so woody, it just makes you feel like you're like up in the mountains or something a little bit.
Oh yeah, the azaleas will look really nice back here. And then you said this is what Sherman had designed for
so
the back area.
Sherman, I'll give it to Sherman. He could talk to you about this.
So it's a bit of a challenge to build a deck here because of this little bit of more slope, and so also I make sure that I have an adequate structure. And engineering wise, if you get like 20-30 people on the deck,
Nice.
then it will collapse on you. So and that part of the deck where it has a little bit of height, and so I built that little bit of what do you call a fence railing, and Anthony likes all the flamingos, so I just cut off the flamingos.
Nice.
So in this section here, when we cleared the land, we kept all the really big trees. We have these really gorgeous poplar trees and a couple of oak trees. But we also had a lot of red buds that, for some reason, somebody must have had a red bud on the property and then they seeded, because there must have been at least over a dozen of them here. And so I just kept a couple of them, and they were really tiny. They were like seedlings almost, like saplings, I guess. And they fast growers. And every year I just limb them up a little bit. And so we have 3 on the property in the backyard, which are really, really pretty in the springtime. If you know, it's a unique flowering tree because it flowers on its trunks, on its branches, not on its leaves.
Oh, okay.
So, which is kind of cool. And also because it's purple, which is an odd flower to find in the wild on a tree.
Right.
And then I just started getting things. There's really no rhyme or reason. I mean, I just liked some stuff. I wanted some native azaleas, so I bought some native azaleas at the plant sale that they have in Tree Atlanta, because I wanted to have a lot of native plants in the backyard. I have a couple of native trees that I planted. They're small right now, but hopefully they'll do something. But the one thing I noticed in the backyard is there was no fall color back here. Even though we had these great trees, none of them really had any great fall color. So I really wanted to get some stuff that had some fall color, especially because I could see the backyard from inside the house pretty much the whole time.
Right.
So, I started with some shrubs that have some fall color and some native trees that hopefully when they get bigger will have some fall color.
Okay.
And then with the camellias, because they bloom in the fall too,
Yeah.
I have one here and I got one on the other side.
Are those?
And these are camellias
Okay.
too.
Okay.
So these are freebies from last year's containers.
Oh, okay.
That obviously when you do a rotation of containers, even though it's a great center, a lot of people really want to have a new look.
Yeah.
So I go with more of a tropical center, and so these are a two-tone color flower.
Oh, wow.
Almost like the peppermint color.
Wow.
So I salvaged them and put them here, and hopefully they'll do well.
Okay.
And like I was saying, I have stuff for different seasons. So this is a witch hazel that blooms in the winter time. The leaves will fall off, and the flowers again will be on the corners of the branches.
Oh.
And it's more of a orangey yellow one. And I have in the back of the deck another winter plant. It's small, so it's not too much to talk about right now, but that's a paper bush, Edwardia, and it's another funky plant because it'll look totally like two different plants. In the wintertime when it flowers, it has these alien-like flowers, again, that kind of cluster downwards. Yellow with the white silver on the top. And then when it leaves out, it looks like a rhododendron.
Oh, wow.
So it's a totally different looking plant. So it's a cool plant to have. It likes to be in part shade.
Yeah.
Once it likes it, it'll just go bonkers.
Yeah.
But it's softwood, easy to prune if it gets a little bit too unmanageable.
Okay.
But it's really cool for the flowers.
Yeah.
So I have that. It's good to have a little whimsy to the
Yes,
garden.
yes.
And I like garden art. And if I see some stuff, that is kind of fun to add, I think it's kind of nice to have that. I mean, when I was on the garden tour, we went to a couple properties, and I did enjoy the properties that had the whimsy more than the formality.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just a collection of, again, shade perennials. So I have Japanese painted ferns. I got some hellebores. I got two varieties. So this is a specialty variety that blooms. When it blooms upright so you can see the flowers. And then I have the native variety that blooms downwards. What's nice about the native variety is that they seed up all over the place. these are all the babies coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So anybody who wants to have some freebies, you can come and get them.
I love hellebores.
Where the new cultivars do not. They're sterile. So you will never get any seeds from them.
Oh, okay.
They'll just kind of spread as a mass.
Okay.
But they won't do this where you can get a bunch of plants and stuff from people.
Okay.
Roof iris is really a cool plant. This blooms really early in the springtime. Low. Some people say it could be a little invasive, so just be careful when you plant it, because I've seen it where it can really take off. But it pulls out really easily.
Okay.
They come in 2 colors for flowers. They have white or a blue purple. I like the blue purple. And I got some oak leaf hydrangeas, which flower in the springtime. Part of the hydrangea, which is blooming now. So there's always something. It's not a lot, but there's something that's kind of always blooming.
Right.
We've tried a couple of fruit trees. So we have a persimmon, Chinese persimmon, but we have not been able to get it to flower. We don't know what the deal is on it.
Okay.
And we have a fig tree that's been struggling ever since we put it in. It keeps on getting beat up by the cold and stuff. And then we just planted a banana tree against the fence, so you can see that. Because I've seen a lot of people in the neighborhood that have them, and they seem to do really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a small one. I bought it as a 1 gallon.
Oh, okay.
And so it gets sun there, and I'm hoping it'll just do its thing.
Yeah, nice.
You know? So, and then all these conifers that you see, all these guys here, all free.
Oh, nice.
All ones I've gotten from a nursery that didn't want them anymore.
Oh,
They said,
nice.
take them, or ones that were in centers of my containers.
Nice.
So I just plant them in the garden, and then, you know, I'm hoping to eventually get a little more screening, because surprisingly, this looks very lush, but all the trees are deciduous. So when fall comes and winter comes, I can see all my neighbors in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
And it's a totally different look.
Yeah.
I mean, so you go from being enclosed like a little cave until being like...
Yeah.
So I'm trying to plant a couple of evergreens to kind of grow up to kind of block the view a little bit more.
Okay.
We have a hummingbird that comes by pretty regularly that we see from the living room window that goes onto some of the plants that we have in the front yard. So that's kind of cool. We have a lot of chipmunks. We actually have a hawk that comes by every so often.
Nice.
Fortunately, he's gotten a couple of the birds, but you know,
that's
what they
nature.
do.
That's right.
I told him to try to concentrate on the squirrels, but for some reason, he likes those mourning doves better.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, there's some owls in the neighborhood, but I have not seen one yet. We put up an owl house, and as soon as we put the owl house up right over here, squirrels decided to move in.
Oh,
So,
wow.
But our neighbor next door said that a couple months ago he saw 2 different varieties of owls in his backyard.
Nice.
So eventually, hopefully we'll see, and maybe one day they'll nest in there, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You guys' garden is just so beautiful, and to be able to walk through with you guys, know some of the things that you have planted. I know my audience is going to love it, you know, so I can't thank you guys enough for, you know, taking the time out of your day to allow me to come over here and do a walkthrough of your garden, and then also find out some history in regards to you guys starting your garden and what have you. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for visiting Inspiring Garden Corner. If you found the content informative, please consider subscribing. Have a great day.